Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're tackling a big one, the ancient art of Feng Shui. And I'll tell you right now, it's about so much more than just where you put your couch. We're going to uncover a really profound philosophy about living in harmony with the earth.
So, let's jump right in. First up, we're going to peel back all those modern ideas, the superstitions, to get to the heart of what Feng Shui was really all about from the very beginning.
So, let's be honest. When you hear Feng Shui, what do you think of? Moving your furniture around for good luck, right? Kind of like a spiritual interior design. And yeah, that's how it's often sold to us today. But the real, historical practice, it was aiming for something way, way bigger than just sofa placement. And the first big clue is right there in the name. It's not called bed and table, or door and window. The characters literally mean wind and water. Think about that. We're talking about two of the most powerful forces in nature. That right there tells you we need to be thinking outdoors and on a really, really massive scale.
Okay, so now we're getting to the absolute heart of it. We're talking about this invisible energy that Feng Shui is all about understanding and, well, harnessing. This idea is the engine that drives the whole entire system.
And that energy is called qi. It's the big foundational idea. You can think of it like the breath of the universe. It's this vital life force that's flowing through everything, mountains, rivers, even you and me. So the goal of Feng Shui isn't just to find good qi. It's about finding a special place where that energy is naturally balanced, concentrated, and, well, just harmonious.
And check this out. This old diagram shows you exactly what they were thinking. You've got energy from the sun coming down and energy from the earth rising up. Feng Shui, at its core, is the art of finding that perfect spot on Earth where these two forces meet and mingle, creating a place that's just buzzing with vibrant, life-sustaining energy. Okay, this ancient quote basically gives away the whole strategy. It says, when qi rides the wind, it scatters. So wind is the enemy, right? It just blows all that good energy away. But then it says, when it is bounded by water, it stops. Aha! So water holds it in. This explains the name wind water perfectly. The whole art is about finding a spot that's sheltered from the wind but held by water.
So here's the really crucial takeaway. For most of its history, Feng Shui had almost nothing to do with what was going on inside your house. It was all about reading the land itself, to figure out where you should even build the house, or the whole village, or even the city to begin with.
And the first Feng Shui masters, they weren't mystics in robes waving crystals around. No, they were basically ancient geographers and astronomers. These were highly trained pros at observing the natural world. They studied the shapes of mountains, the flow of rivers, even weather patterns, all to find this one very specific kind of landscape that they believed would collect and nurture that good qi for generations to come.
And this is it. This diagram shows you exactly what they were looking for. This is the ideal site. The best way to think about it is like a giant natural armchair, literally formed by the landscape. If you could nestle your village or your home right in the seat of that chair, you'd be naturally protected and secure. So let's break down this cosmic armchair. It's said to be protected by 4 celestial animal guardians. So, the high back of the chair, that's the black tortoise, a big mountain behind you for support, blocking those harsh winds. The armrests, you've got the Green Dragon Hills on the left, or east, and the slightly lower White Tiger Hills on the right, the west. They kind of cradle the whole site. And then in front of you, where your feet would go, that's the Red Phoenix, an open space giving you a great view and hopefully a nice slow-moving river to gather all that precious qi.
Now, over time, a couple of major approaches developed for finding these perfect spots. You had the form school, which is the older one. They focused on exactly what we've been talking about, the physical shapes of the landscape, what you could actually see. But then the compass school came along, and they added another layer, using this incredibly complex cosmological compass called a luoban, plus a bunch of calculations based on astronomy and yin-yang to pinpoint the absolute best orientation.
All right, so we've been talking on this huge grand scale. Now let's zoom in. Let's see how these massive landscape ideas were actually shrunk down and applied to architecture. Everything from city planning right down to a single-family home. And this is just brilliant. You can see how the principle scales perfectly. On the left, a huge walled city. On the right, a family courtyard home. But the philosophy is exactly the same. Create an enclosed, protected space. The idea was that your home should be a microcosm, like a miniature version of that ideal landscape. It's your own personal sanctuary that copies the safety of that big natural armchair.
If you look at a traditional Chinese courtyard house, it's basically a perfect blueprint of these Feng Shui principles. You've got the main building sitting at the very back. That's your Black Tortoise Mountain, providing protection. The wings on the left and right, those are your Dragon and Tiger Hills, embracing the home. And that open courtyard in the middle, that acts as a bright hall, a calm place where all that good energy, that qi, can just pool and settle for the family.
Okay, so we've stripped away the fortune-telling stuff. We've gotten past the modern superstitions. So what's the big idea here? What can we really take away from this ancient practice today? Well, the answer is actually, surprisingly, modern. When you really get down to it, you can see Feng Shui as a kind of pre-modern environmental science. It's a whole system for analyzing a place's microclimate and its topography to find the absolute best spot to live. I mean, it's about building your home where it's protected from harsh winds, has easy access to water, gets that nice morning sun. It's really this deep philosophical attempt to live with nature instead of trying to fight against it.
And the famous historian of Chinese science, Joseph Needham, he really nailed it. He said, yeah, okay, there are some superstitious parts to it for sure, but he saw that underneath all that, Feng Shui is driven by this incredibly practical and, aesthetic desire to find the most beautiful, the most harmonious, and just the most livable spot for people to be, right in the middle of nature.
And that kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Today, as we're all searching for ways to live more sustainably, to build smarter cities, and just find a better balance with our planet, maybe, just maybe, there's some really deep wisdom we can rediscover from this ancient art of wind and water. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.